Hi, and thanks for joining us for today's webinar, where we'll be discussing how to utilize recruitment advertising to expand your reach and get better candidates. As we discussed during last week's webinar, the hub of any good marketing program is the website, because it's the place that we send our leads to learn more about our company and our products, and eventually to convert into clients. Advertising is one of the ways we drive traffic to our site to generate leads. And it's also a really great way for recruiters to drive traffic to their sites to convert candidates into applicants. I'm Jen Picard, and I'm the Marketing Director at Bright. And our mission is to make the hiring process more efficient by showing recruiters on a scale of 0 to 100 how qualified a given candidate is for your position. After posting your job description on Bright, we'll score your applicants as well as other active candidates from our database. I'd encourage everybody on the webinar today to see for yourself how this works by signing up for a free trial at bright.com/recruiter. But for now, we'll go ahead and jump into the presentation. Let's talk about recruitment advertising. With any advertising program, your end goal should really be to get candidates to apply for your jobs. So before we start talking about your actual ads, let's talk about your landing page, which in most cases should be your job description. Every once in a while I do see ads which lead to a general About Us page or a careers page where candidates can learn a bit about the company's employer brand first, but I would warn everybody that this would lead to a decrease in conversion. And the general rule that I follow in any direct response advertising program is to eliminate as many steps in your process as possible. So I would bring your ad to have your candidate go directly to your job description page where they can apply for the position. Your job description is likely going to be the first thing your candidates will see about your company and your job, and this is especially if they're coming from a job ad. So you want to make sure that you're using your job description to sell them on your company, sell them on your position. And this is really going to be how you get those qualified candidates to come into your door. Top candidates have a choice in where they work. And there are a lot of candidates out there in the marketplace right now, and you're not really trying to appeal to the masses out there. You want to appeal to those top candidates. And those people have a choice in where they work. And if you want them to apply to your job, you have to tell them why they should choose you over your competitors. So if you joined us for last week's webinar, you should already know what to include on your website to stand out, but you need to include a lot of that information on your job description as well. So you want to start by introducing your company and explaining what makes you different. Try including some information on your employer brand proposition. So that is, why your employees work for you. Include some information on your mission and your vision as a company to get people on the same page as you, to get them passionate about what it is that you do, and to share that passion with them. If you have any employer awards, you should also mention those in your job description. It's a great place to say, we were named one of the coolest workplaces, or we have one of the best companies to work, or one of the fastest growing companies in the United States or in California, whatever it is that you have. Mention that here to get people excited about working for you. And then also try to share some information about your team and the hiring manager to give the candidate a good picture of who they would be working with. I would also really recommend including some contact information or perhaps a chat functionality somewhere on your website in case your candidates want some additional information. And this will most certainly help you convert those higher quality candidates, again, into applicants. Because some of these people, like I said, they have a choice in where they work. They're not applying everywhere under the sun. And if they have questions or concerns, they might want to get those answered before they actually spend the time to apply with your company. Only once you've conveyed what a wonderful company you have, then is when you should discuss your job requirements. And again, you want to use these job requirements to sell your position to the candidate. You don't really want to use this to weed people out, which is I think what a lot of companies are doing these days. They're getting so many applications for every single job opening that they're trying to make their job description sound intimidating, or they're trying to just include a huge list of qualifications. And what ends up happening is that the highly qualified people are looking at this and saying, okay, well, I'm not going to apply for this. It seems like a bit much. whereas the unqualified candidates probably aren't really even reading it. They're just applying to a position anyway. Or they're saying, you know what, I have 3/4 of these skills, I'm going to give it a shot. And what could be happening here is that, you know, maybe your candidates that have your required skills and qualifications are the ones that are dropping off, whereas the ones that have 3/4, maybe they have the 3/4 of the skills that you don't really care as much about. So I'd recommend trying to be specific here and really give the candidate an idea of what their day-to-day would look like and what they would be responsible for achieving. So for example, a salesperson that knows that they're responsible for making 200 cold calls, for closing $2 million in annual sales, and maintaining a 50% client retention rate, will have a much better understanding of whether they're qualified and interested in your position than if the job description just had a list that said, you have to have 3 to 5 years of sales experience, you have to have a background in cold calls, and you have to have solid customer service skills. So I mean, if you look at the difference between those two, you know, the first job description was basically said the same thing, but gave the candidate a much better idea of what it is that they would be responsible for. And if you really do want to include a list of qualifications, try to make it short. Maybe list your 3 to 5 required skills and qualifications that are needed to perform the job, and then maybe also include a short list of desired skills and point out that these two skill lists are different, that, you know, the first list is a must-have and the second set is, you know, kind of a bonus point for the candidate. And this will help you ensure you get those high-quality candidates, because like I said, a top candidate won't waste their time applying to a job if they only have half of the necessary skills, but they may have those half of the skills that you do really want. And then the completely unqualified candidates might still apply. There's not really any way to get around this, but write your job descriptions to appeal to the top candidates, and just realize that those unqualified candidates are probably going to come in either way. The really big thing to take away here is to really sell that candidate on your company first, and then secondly to sell them on the position. Because what you want to do here, like I was saying earlier, a lot of your candidates are seeing your company for the first time through your job description, and they might read through it and realize that, you know, this isn't the job for me. I'm not a great fit for this. This is not what I'm looking for. Maybe I'm not what they're looking for. But you don't want to scare them away from your company altogether. And in fact, you really want to help them help you build your employer brand. And you want them to be out there advocating for your employer brand and saying, hey, you know what, I really want to work at Bright.com. You know, I've heard really great things about the company. I found them through a job ad, but, you know, it wasn't really the right fit, but I'm holding on. I'm waiting for that perfect opportunity. And this way, you know, even if the position's not the right fit, we're still able to place that candidate somewhere else down the line. So, you know, maybe we have another opening in a week or in a month, but either way, this candidate still really wants to work for our company, and they're keeping tabs on what we're doing. Maybe they've decided to put out a Google alert for our jobs, or apply to our job alerts, or they're following us on social media, connecting with us on social media. Whatever it is they're doing, you know, they're really interested in the company, and that's really the main goal here. If we can't get them to convert right away, we do want them to convert eventually. So remember that your job description should be your one opportunity to absolutely stand out to your candidates. You know, all the ads in the world can't help you if you don't have that solid job description as your foundation. So that's where you're going to be sending your candidates to. So after you've crafted your landing page / your job description, it's time to choose your channels, and there's definitely no lack of places to advertise here. You have your basic job posting sites like CareerBuilder, LinkedIn, Bright. Each of these has a different audience and a unique value proposition. So the audience is something that you really want to keep in mind when you decide which channels to go after. Because you might find that LinkedIn has the C-level, more executive-level talent, while you know, maybe the entry-level and the mid-level people are looking on CareerBuilder and Craigslist. There's also a lot of niche sites available where you can reach a smaller, more focused group of candidates. So those are sites like Dice, where you can go after the tech industry people. There are niche sites for all kinds of different industries and job functions. So, if you're hiring for a marketing position, try looking for a niche site that focuses on sales and marketing jobs. If you're going after technology, then you want to try and put up your ads on sites, things like that. Just kind of play around with these different sites a little bit. And then some of the job boards, as well as the search engines and social media platforms, allow you to pay per click rather than per job posting as well. And paying per click is really a great option for if you have a position, let's say like a tech position, where you know that you're not going to get a lot of applicants. It can be very cost effective to just pay for the actual traffic that they drive you instead of that flat rate pay to post fee. The other really great thing that I like about PPC, pay-per-click advertising, is that it lets you turn your spending up or down. So, let's say that you have gotten really overwhelmed with your response rate. You're getting a lot of applications for a given position. You can actually turn your spending down and get a lot less traffic, or you can turn it off. You can pause it for a day or two. So you're able to be really flexible here in terms of pay-per-click advertising with how much traffic you're driving to your site on any given day. And then you can play around with your ad budget a lot too. So whereas with some of the larger job posting sites, it's $300, $400, $500 just to post a single job. With the pay-per-click advertising, you can end up paying $50 if you'd like. You can spend $100. If you want to do an ad for a month and a half, you can spend $450. You can be really flexible in terms of what you spend on a daily budget, as well as what you spend throughout your entire advertising for that position. If you're new to advertising, the first thing I would recommend is to just kind of start playing around with where you post jobs and advertise, and make sure that you're tracking some important metrics. And this goes for the more experienced advertisers as well, although I would assume that a lot of you out there are tracking some of your metrics. So for my website, I actually use Google Analytics, which is a free tool, and I use that to track which sources bring me the most traffic, as well as which sources bring me the most conversions, which convert at the highest rate, and what my cost per conversion is per source. And these are all things that you guys can track as well in terms of getting applicants. So, how much traffic is being brought to your job postings? Which sources are converting the most? Which are bringing you the most candidates? And which has the highest conversion rate? So, of people that see your job ad, what has the highest percentage of people that are actually converting into applicants for you? And then, how much does it cost for each applicant per each source? And the reason I track a lot of these metrics, even though at the end I'm really looking for conversions, what I really want are people to convert into clients for me, just like what you really want are those qualified applicants to come through so you can hire them. But I still track some of these other things because I feel like they're really important. So for example, I track traffic because it's really great for my general awareness, my brand awareness, or your employer brand awareness in your case. So even though the website visitor didn't convert while they were on our site, they're a lot more likely to remember us the next time they see an ad, and then they also might be seeking us out at a later point. So like I said, if you write a really great job ad, you get somebody really interested in working for your company, maybe they start Googling your name every once in a while just to see if you're hiring again. So every time I start advertising, I'll see a lot more branded keywords that are driving traffic to our site. So that means that people are searching more for Bright.com or Bright Recruiter or Bright Hiring Tool if they can't remember the name. Basically anything that has our name in it or our product name in it, we consider a branded keyword. And so if you wrote a compelling enough job description, I bet you'd see a lot more of these branded keywords coming to your site as well that are related to jobs or careers at your company. Conversions are obviously my end goal, so that's a big thing that I track. And getting people to convert into clients is, the biggest thing that we're looking for. And that's one of my most important metrics. And so it's imperative to see where these conversions are actually coming from. Are they coming from Twitter, or are they coming from people looking at my blog posts, or are they coming from referral sites? So I mentioned that we had in Forbes last week, for example. Where exactly are we getting our conversions from? And what I can do here is that if I find that a certain medium isn't bringing me any conversions, I can see if there's anything I can do to improve that, or I can just kill it altogether. And most importantly is, more than just the straight up numbers of conversions, is the conversion rate and my cost per conversion. So, even though something like Google AdWords might bring me a huge number of conversions, if it's the most expensive thing I'm using, I kind of want to reevaluate that, maybe turn it down, optimize it, things like that. So for recruitment advertising, a good example is that if you know that LinkedIn has a better conversion rate than Monster, then you'll want to reevaluate your hiring tactics a little bit. So maybe you're including more spend on Monster. If you see that Craigslist has a lower cost per conversion than LinkedIn, maybe you'll want to use that a little bit more frequently, play around with that one more, post more positions on there, optimize that one first, things like that. Another big tip I have on measuring your success here is to take a look at how each source performs for different types of positions. So here at Bright, we only have the one main product that I sell, but we have a couple other recruiter products as well. And so we might find that one of our products performs better on Google and in terms of conversions, and one gets more conversions on social media. So it's important to look at how each source performs for your different types of positions as well, the different things that you're selling. So your cost per source metric might show that Craigslist costs more than LinkedIn, but maybe LinkedIn ends up costing less for C-level positions. Well, Craigslist is really better for your entry-level positions. So, you want to get really granular here. You want to look at all these different kinds of metrics. Take a look at everything you possibly can, and don't make any assumptions without using data to back it up. So one of the things that I like to do is I assume things all the time. I think, okay, if I take a look, I would assume that LinkedIn has a lower cost per hire than Craigslist. And then I want to use data to actually confirm or deny that assumption. And so now we're using our data to determine our best sources, and I'd recommend that you do the same to determine your best sources of hire. Long story short here is to just play around with where you post your jobs, see which sites bring you the most qualified candidates for each type of position, and then keep an eye on the overall conversions and cost per source. And then you can use this information to optimize your advertising strategy. So once you have your landing pages / your job descriptions set up, and you have some initial data on your most successful channels, you should go ahead and optimize all of your campaigns. So I can't say this enough times, test absolutely everything and anything that you can think of. Always keep playing around with different channels. There's new websites popping up every day, especially in the recruitment technology space. Bright's one of them. We have a lot of really amazing competitors out there. We have, the tried and true technologies as well. And I'd recommend that you just play around with these different channels and find, different better sources for each type of position. So if you find, Bright might work well for one of your positions or one function or one level, like entry level, mid-level, etc. You might find this out through just testing these different tools. And then once you know that certain channels work better for certain positions, you want to keep those positions on those channels and then take a look at what step in the process you can still improve upon. So conversions is just one step in the process. So you'll want to look at your different candidate drop-off points that are in your process. So, for example, how many people view your job ad but don't click on it? How many people view your job description on your website but don't click on your call to action to apply? And then how many people click to apply but then don't actually finish your application process? So these are all really big drop-off points. And it's important to actually look at a lot of these different steps in your process when you're optimizing for advertising. So if your ad has a low click-through rate, you need to optimize your ad first. And I would recommend starting with your job title. And in marketing, your job title is what we would call your keywords. Your job title is usually what will show up on the top line of your ad, and it can make a huge difference in your ad click-through rates as well as in your candidate quality. Keep in mind that your job title will actually affect more than your ad click-through rate. It'll affect your application rate as well. So anytime you optimize something, make sure you're seeing how it changes all of the conversions down the line, all the way from the time they see your ad to the time they've actually finished their application. So let's take a look at this easy scenario here. So someone's on Google, say you're on Google, and you see an ad for a marker. And you're like, you know what, I really need a new marker. And you're going to buy it online for some reason. But let's say that you really want a marker, so you click on the ad. And then it turns out, you know what, I wanted this marker for my 3-year-old. And this is a Sharpie. And a permanent marker is not really appropriate for my 3-year-old. So instead, what the advertiser should have done in this case was to put up an ad for a purple Sharpie, which is really extremely specific. It's much more specific than just saying marker. A purple Sharpie is a type of marker, but because it's more specific, it's actually going to get less click-throughs, which, at first glance could look like a bad thing, but then when you think about what happens next is that the people that click on that specific keyword are much more likely to buy because they know exactly what they're going to see once they click on the ad. So the conversion rate is actually better, even though the click-through rate initially is lower. So your job ads are really very similar to this. So if you're going to be vague and you say that you're hiring a marketing director, you're going to get more clicks. But if the person doing the clicking doesn't really know what they're going to find on the next page, then it's not always going to be good for your conversion rate to have that higher click-through rate. So for example, that person might be looking for a B2B marketing director position rather than e-commerce. They might be looking for a specific industry. They might be looking for a specific city. So if you get a lot more specific and you put up an ad for a B2B marketing director in San Francisco, the person gets a much better idea of what they'll see when they click through the next page. So when you're optimizing for your click-throughs, you want to make sure that you're tracking how the rest of your conversion process is going to be affected, not just that one step that you're optimizing for. Just always look at it from a very big picture. We discussed this in last week's webinar a little bit, and we talked about search engine optimization. But the big trick here is to always try to think like a job seeker and use the keywords that they would use to find your position. So would you search for a marker, or would you search for a purple Sharpie? You probably would search for pen. So just always try and think, if you were looking for what it is you're selling, your job, what is it that you would look for? And then you want to continually test the other parts of your process as well, not just your ad or your job title. So if you see that people are clicking on your ad, but that they're not clicking to apply, another trick is to tweak your landing page copy. This is where you can try adding in or changing up some of your visuals. You could add in bullet points, italics, and bolding, for example, to draw attention to the benefits of working at your company. I would also recommend playing around with the length of your job ad. And by length, I mean try and go shorter if you can, and see if it increases your call to action click-through rate. And then you'll want to take what works here and apply it to your other job postings as well to see if it makes a difference there too. So you just want to be continually optimizing each individual advertisement as well as your overall campaigns. You also want to take a look at the conversion rate of your call to action clicks to completed applications. So these are the people that clicked apply. You'll find that you'll probably have quite a big drop-off between the people that click apply and the people that actually submit a full application. And this is especially true if you're using an ATS, the dreaded ATS. If you're seeing a steep drop-off, take a look at your application process to see if you can understand why. Well, a very common issue is that there's going to be a non-mobile friendly site that can't really fit the screen on a mobile phone, or a really tedious application process. So a lot of the ATS application processes can take upwards of an hour or two, and somebody's not going to spend that long on their phone to apply. So if someone clicks on your ad, views your job, and clicks to apply, but is then taken to a really lengthy or hard-to-read application, they're probably going to drop off. So I suggest that everybody here take a look at your application process from your mobile phone to see what this would be like for your candidates, and then optimize accordingly. You really don't want to be wasting all of that money and time that you've spent to get applicants thus far, only to lose them at this point. And that's going to be it for today's presentation. I want to thank everybody so much for joining us today. And next Tuesday, we'll be discussing how to get traffic to your site through social media. So if you're interested in social recruitment, go ahead and check out our webinars at bright.com/recruiter/webinars and register for that. We have another 4 webinars in this series about secrets from a marketing geek. And I hope that you'll be able to join us for some of those. If you have any questions, please don't ever hesitate to reach out to me. I'm Jen at bright.com. You can find me on LinkedIn with that same email address, as well as on Twitter, Jen@bright. And you can find bright.com online as well. And I really encourage everybody to check out Bright Recruiter. It's completely free to use for the first week. And that way it gives you an idea of what kinds of positions you would be able to best fill on our site versus some of the other tools that you might be using now.